Darla Melissa Nixon, born on July 2nd, 1960, in Pine Bluff, Jefferson County, Arkansas, was the daughter of title insurance executive and U.S. Marine Corps veteran Jerry and Mel Nixon, and grew up with one sister and one brother. A 1977 graduate of Pine Bluff High School, she went on to work as a licensed abstractor in her father's company before taking a similar position in Little Rock. Darla also attended the University of Arkansas at Little Rock for about 2 years. Later, she joined the Internal Revenue Service, where she worked for roughly 4 years as a personnel analyst. Known for her dependability, Darla had never missed a day of work without notifying her employer in advance. She married Barry Harper, and the couple had a daughter, Leslie. However, by the spring of 1986, the marriage had ended. They were officially divorced by December of 1985, according to Darla's mother, Mel. On the evening of March 4th, 1986, Darla, then aged 25, spent time visiting with a neighbour at her apartment in Gravel Ridge near Jacksonville, Arkansas. The friend left around 9:30 p.m., leaving Darla and her young daughter at home. A few hours later, the neighbour was startled by loud noises coming from Darla's apartment, sounds that resembled furniture being violently moved. Concerned, she tried calling Darla, but hung up after a few rings, not wishing to disturb the child. The next morning, alarm bells began to ring when Darla's supervisor at the IRS noticed she had not shown up for work, something entirely out of character for her. Around 1 p.m. on March 5th, Darla's co-worker went to check on her after she failed to appear at work. Upon arriving at her apartment, they discovered that the door was locked, but little Leslie was inside, alone and frightened, yet physically unharmed. The scene appeared calm, showing no signs of a struggle, though a troubling bloodstain marked the exterior of the front door. Darla's car was also missing. Realizing something was seriously wrong, the co-worker promptly contacted the Pine Bluff Police Department to report Darla missing and potentially injured. Her mother described Darla as, quote, a warm, loving and caring person who was very responsible both in her job and as a mother. The Nixon family announced a $10,000 reward for any information that could lead to the discovery of Darla, whether she was found alive or deceased. In addition, they pledged an extra $16,000 for details resulting in the conviction of anyone responsible for her abduction. Furthermore, Darla's family were already dealing with a recent heartbreak. Just 10 days prior to Darla's disappearance, her sister, Deborah, died accidentally, according to the Baxter Bulletin newspaper. Police began canvassing the apartment complex, speaking with neighbours in hopes that someone had seen or heard something that could explain Darla's disappearance. Investigators were particularly interested in questioning her estranged husband, Barry, but he insisted he had no knowledge of what had happened to her. Despite multiple interrogations, Barry consistently denied any involvement. With no concrete evidence connecting him to the case, authorities had no choice but to shift their focus and explore other leads. A day after Darla's disappearance was reported, her vehicle was discovered abandoned in a commuter parking lot near Crystal Hill, Arkansas, approximately 9 miles from her home and far from any place she was known to frequent. Inside the car, investigators found traces of blood, and upon closer examination, they also uncovered a set of unidentified fingerprints, offering a potential clue in the case. Following her mother's vanishing, Leslie made a chilling statement to investigators when asked about what happened that night. She said, quote, 3 men came in funny hats, and that she, quote, saw Mummy in a bag, and, quote, Mummy's feet were broke. Leslie's account of what happened that night had to be viewed with caution, given how young she was at the time. It could also never be used as evidence or testimony in a court of law due to her age. It was entirely possible that parts of her statement were shaped by fear, confusion, or the imagination of a child trying to make sense of something she didn't fully understand. However, it was also important to consider that children often convey truth through the lens of trauma. What might have seemed unclear or exaggerated could have been Leslie's way of processing and expressing real events. Her words, whether partially imagined or rooted in reality, may have offered crucial insight into what truly happened to her mother. As an adult, Leslie reflected that she retained fragments of memory from the night her mother vanished, though she struggled to distinguish between what she might have actually seen and what she may have learned later. In a 2003 interview, she recalled glimpses of figures dressed entirely in black, their faces hidden by ski masks, ascending the stairs. Years earlier, in 1986, she had told investigators that her mother's feet were broken, suggesting she may have witnessed someone physically carrying Darla from the apartment, leaving a lasting, if fragmented, impression on her young mind. After Darla's disappearance, no credible sightings of her were ever reported, leading investigators to suspect she had met with foul play. Despite their efforts, every lead eventually ran dry, and the investigation gradually lost momentum. Over the years, detectives revisited the case from time to time, hoping a fresh look might reveal something new, but progress remained painfully slow, and the mystery of what happened to Darla persisted. After years of stagnation, when Darla's case had long gone cold, a chilling lead suddenly emerged. In 1990, investigators received a startling tip from Barry Harper's then wife, who claimed that Darla's remains were buried in the backyard of the home Darla and Barry once shared before their divorce. Acting on this information, authorities conducted a thorough search of the property and uncovered several bone fragments. However, testing was inconclusive, and investigators could not confirm whether the remains were human. Darla was officially declared deceased in October of 1991. Nearly 2 decades later, in 2009, the case resurfaced once again when a man walking his dog through a wooded area in Sherwood, Arkansas, discovered what appeared to be a shallow grave. He immediately contacted police, and given that Darla's was the only open missing persons case in the region, investigators quickly linked the possible find to her disappearance. The location, just 3 miles from Barry Harper's residence, only deepened their suspicions. Yet, after an extensive search of the site, no evidence connected to Darla was recovered, and the mystery continued. Barry Harper died in a multi-vehicle traffic accident in Lufkin in 2015 at the age of 57. When Darla disappeared, she was 25 years old. She is described as a Caucasian female, standing at 5'3" tall and weighing 115 pounds. She has light brown hair and brown eyes. She also has a burn scar on her left elbow and a small scar on the right cheek. She was last seen wearing a pullover shirt, jeans, a diamond cluster ring, a diamond horseshoe-shaped ring, and a necklace with a teardrop-shaped diamond pendant. Several theories have circulated regarding Darla Harper's disappearance, though none have been confirmed. Some investigators and observers believe Darla may have been taken by someone she knew or a stranger who'd been watching her. The presence of blood and the fact that her car was found abandoned suggests a violent encounter and a planned removal from her apartment. Given the proximity of Darla's disappearance to her separation from Barry Harper, some have speculated he could have been involved. Suspicion was fueled by tips and searches around properties linked to him, though authorities never found concrete evidence tying him to the crime. Some have speculated that Darla's disappearance might have been linked to her role as a personnel analyst at the IRS. This theory suggests she may have uncovered sensitive information about someone's finances, taxes, or illegal activities, putting her in danger. Many investigators and observers lean toward the idea that her work at the IRS was unrelated to her disappearance, believing it was more likely a domestic or opportunistic crime, rather than a targeted attack linked to her professional life. Another possibility is that Darla was the victim of a random attack. The early morning hours of her disappearance and the unexplained noises reported by neighbours suggest someone may have targeted her opportunistically. The discovery of her car miles away, along with unidentified fingerprints, has led some to theorise that whoever was responsible tried to mislead investigators or remove evidence, possibly moving her to another location or attempting to bury her. Leslie's statements as a child, including seeing masked figures and mentioning her mother's injuries, have fueled speculation that multiple people may have been involved, suggesting a more orchestrated abduction rather than a spontaneous act. These theories highlight the uncertainty and complexity of the case, with each possibility raising new questions but no definitive answers. In a chilling coincidence, Darla's cousin, Pam, also disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Pam Page, a 32-year-old housewife and co-owner of a video store in Peoria, Arizona, disappeared on July 22, 1989. Her husband, Rob, initially claimed she had left voluntarily with a woman named Sarah and left a note, but investigators soon discovered he had forged the letter and altered parts of the story. Numerous inconsistencies in his account, including conflicting timelines and unverifiable details, raised suspicion, though he was never charged. Despite tips and leads leading to possible foul play, including indications that Pam may have been harmed and moved, her fate remains unknown. Rob died in 2009, and police officers consider the case closed. Despite the similarities in their cases, authorities do not believe there is any connection between Darla's disappearance and Pam's. Sadly, Darla's father, Jerry, passed away in 2017, never knowing the truth about what happened to his daughter. Darla's family has lived with the uncertainty of her fate. While they have accepted that she was likely killed the night she disappeared, their deepest wish remains to recover her remains and provide her with a proper burial. Despite the case having gone cold for decades, investigators hold onto hope, believing that the mystery could still be solved if someone with crucial information finally stepped forward to share what they know.